Part 5. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Ji. Chapter 41. On the way back, Qin-ji, Mikasa and Mayoko walked together and talked about some things that had just happened in the meeting. Although they all expressed different opinions on the question that Mayoko had raised before, they still couldn't jump to it after all. Out of the box that the Prince of Wales mentioned before. The Dean is absolutely right. These new commanders have already made great sacrifices when they come to the academy. It would indeed seem a bit inhumane if they are forced to face such cruel problems as war as soon as they enter the academy. Mikasa said. It's indeed more difficult, Qin-ji couldn't help but say. But war is unavoidable. If the new commanders don't get into shape quickly, they will end up harming themselves when they graduate, Miao Gao said with some seriousness. We, the instructors, can guide them during class and try to help them understand the facts of the war as quickly as possible and avoid various problems that may arise later, April said. Indeed, especially my strategy and tactics course can give them clear guidance. From the strategic and tactical level, the level of practice is closer to real war, Qin-ji said. So our tasks will be more arduous in the future. After all, the siren won't think you are tired, Mikasa said with a smile. Several people in the group couldn't help laughing when they heard Mikasa's words. Indeed, siren will not think you are tired. By the way, Qin-ji, Mikasa said to Qin-ji, tomorrow's opening ceremony, your seat is at the instructor's desk, don't forget it. Ah, isn't this good? How about I stay with those new commanders? After all, I can be considered one of them, Qin-ji said with some embarrassment. What's there to be embarrassed about? It's not like you haven't heard of the saying that a master is a teacher? What's more, your tactical cultivation has been affirmed by several of us, so for this matter, you just follow the arrangements. Afroel said with a smile. Okay, since the seniors have said so, then I have no problem here. Qin-ji also smiled heartily and agreed. Qin-ji, how have your centaur and Node been training these 2 days? Aurora asked. Qin-ji answered, the two of them have trained very hard, and now they clearly feel that they can make the first breakthrough. I remember it was only a little over a week before you summoned the two of them, right? Mikasa asked in surprise. Yeah, what's wrong? Qin-ji asked doubtfully. Mikasa and the others looked at each other, and Mayoko asked, it's nothing, they are really working hard. Do they all train on their own? Well, because I usually need to prepare lessons, I only took them to train once, and then they trained by themselves. Qin-ji thought for a while and said. Sure enough, a self-disciplined commander can easily bring out a self-disciplined ship girl, Miao Gao said with a smile. I also saw how Commander Qin-ji has been doing morning exercises these past 2 mornings. I'm used to it. If I don't practice, I always feel like something is missing. Qin-ji laughed. Then what are you going to do next? Mikasa asked. I'm going to the practice area to take a look at their training results, and then let them practice together with Fushun tomorrow, Qin-ji replied. Wait, are you going to practice with Fushun? Mikasa said in surprise, did that girl from Fushun agree to you? Qin-ji then told him about the agreement reached with Fushun that day, and Mikasa and others couldn't help but become happy. This girl from Fushun really doesn't suffer at all, but speaking of which, Fushun has a training level of over 90, so you really can't suffer from practicing with her, Aurora said with a smile. Senior Aurora is really right. Although that girl in Fushun is naughty, she is a real and highly trained ship girl. She will help you correct your own shortcomings in the ship girl's strength. Practice a few more times. Your ship girl will grow faster, Miao Gao said with a smile. Coupled with your tactical layout, I am very optimistic about your performance in the practice league in the future. Mikasa nodded. Qin-ji touched his nose and said, you all said so. If I don't get a better ranking by then, how can I be worthy of you? Haha, don't be stressed. I will go to your place often in the future. I can open a special stove for her if you are able, but the premise is that you have to drink with me, April said. Senior Aurora, why did you learn from Fushun? Qin-Ji said speechlessly. No, Aurora smiled softly. Qin-Ji instantly became speechless, but he would never let go of this obvious opportunity to open a small stove, so he didn't say anything. A few people were bouncing and quickly reached the entrance of the staff area, which also led to the training ground in the staff area, but the training ground was another branch of the road, so Qin-Ji said goodbye to Mikasa and the others here. After that, he walked towards the practice field. As soon as he arrived at the training ground, he heard the roar of the aircraft engine. Qin-Ji looked up at the sky. Two fighter jets were flying overlapping in the sky, while another torpedo plane was doing a spin in the sky not far away. Sports. It seems that you have been training well recently. Qin-Ji smiled slightly and walked towards the Centaur next to the dock. Perhaps because he was too serious, the Centaur was always in a highly concentrated state and knew nothing about Qin-Ji's arrival behind him. It wasn't until the three carrier-based aircraft in the sky turned into blue arrows and appeared in the cabin that the Centaur discovered Qin-Ji standing on the dock behind him. Hey, why is the commander here? The Centaur smiled and quickly slid to the side of the pier, jumped up and jumped to his side. The meeting is over, so let's take a look at your training, Qin-Ji said with a smile. After all, I was too busy the past few days and needed to catch up on my knowledge. I didn't have time to train with you. It's nothing. The Centaur shook his head. The commander is working hard to complete his work, and as ship girls, we naturally cannot slack off. Qin-Ji immediately smiled, stretched out his hand and stroked the Centaur's golden hair. Thank you for your hard work. It's okay. The Centaur's face turned slightly red. Haha, can you replace me? Qin-Ji said with a smile. Senior Nashiro is practicing the accuracy of torpedoes, Centaur explained. My carrier-based aircraft just found a target for her. She released the torpedo and is now heading to check the explosion in person. I see. Qin-Ji nodded. Then you take a rest, and when Node comes back, we will go to dinner together. The Centaur nodded. Yes, Commander. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 42. Have you heard? Teacher Deng, the instructor of the strategy and tactics class, returned to the mainland due to some changes in his family. Who do you think will teach us in our strategy and tactics class this year? In the cafeteria, several commanders who were obviously second-year students sat together with their respective ship girls and discussed the strategy and tactics class with each other. I guess it should be Instructor Mikasa or Instructor Aurora. They have the highest qualifications in the academy and have experienced a lot of battles, a commander said. That's not necessarily true. I feel like the Maryland instructor can do it too, another commander argued. Come on, with the recklessness of Instructor Maryland, I guess all the strategic and tactical goals in her mouth only have one word, rush, the commander on the far side said speechlessly. Haha, do you want to be punished severely? You actually said that about the Maryland mentor, the commander who first asked the question laughed. No, I just think that Maryland instructor's style suits me. Do you think it's Kawachi? The commander said to his ship's wife. Kawachi. That's right, no matter whether it is a mass-produced siren or a fallen ship girl, it will be broken with one punch, said a ship girl with yellow hair and fox ears. You two really get along, the others smiled silently. At this time, a man ran over quickly, and behind him was a ship girl holding a camera. I said, brothers, do you know what I just saw? The four people present shook their heads, and one of them said, Woo-how, just tell me if you have anything to do. Don't be mysterious all day long and act like a spy. The commander known as Woo-how rolled his eyes. Okay, I'm used to it professionally. Let me tell you, I just saw a new commander. Isn't this normal? School starts tomorrow, and we are all sophomores now, so the commanders who have just arrived must be new commanders. They are everywhere. Don't you believe it? Let me point you over there. You see there are several sitting there, the commander said speechlessly. What kind of information did he think it was, but it turned out to be nonsense. You guys interrupted me before I finished speaking, Wu Hao said. The new commander I'm talking about is not the same as them. Oh, what else is strange about it? These people became interested and asked Wu Hao. Of course, Wu Hao said, the current commander is followed by two ship girls, one is Sakura's Nashiro, and the other is a royal centaur, and his military rank is still private, and his chest there is also an identity badge that mentors often wear. Wu Hao, are you kidding me? Several people present said in surprise. After all, what Wu Hao said was too unbelievable. How could a freshman who has not yet attended the entrance ceremony have two ship girls? Moreover, the second-year students are probably all familiar with each other. No one has ever had Nashiro from Sakura and the centaur from the royal family, not to mention that person also has an identity tag from his mentor. How could I joke about something like this? You should know my temper. The news I reported is definitely news and facts. How could I tell Yao Yao? Wu Hao said speechlessly. I can prove that what Wu Hao said is indeed true. Look over there. At this time, a commander facing the cafeteria door became stiff and said in a low voice to everyone. Following his voice, everyone looked towards the door of the cafeteria, and saw a commander wearing a commander's uniform, with the rank of private on his shoulders and an identity card on his chest, walking into the cafeteria. Behind him was indeed also following were Nashiro of Sakura and the royal centaur. Looking at the figure that was exactly the same as what Wu Hao said, the second graders suddenly became stunned. They were sure that this person was definitely not a sophomore because they had never seen him before. And as we all know, except for the first batch of commanders, the other commanders entered the Donghuang Navy system after graduating from the Azalane Commander Academy. Therefore, those with the rank of private can only be new commanders from the Commander Academy, and cannot be commanders from other places. The group of people they were shocked by was Qin Ji and his ship girls. There were many strange looks at them along the way. Even in the cafeteria, Qin Ji was somewhat used to these looks. Ignoring everyone's shocked looks, they will all know what they do tomorrow anyway. Qin Ji walked directly towards Yuxian at the operating table. Today, there were 3 more female workers beside Yuxian. They should be the so-called handymen. Commander Qin Ji, you have to take action by yourself from today on. Seeing Qin Ji coming over, Yuxian smiled at him. Haha, I'm quite used to this, and I'm so sorry for bothering you all the time, Qin Ji said with a smile. Nowhere, but if you want to eat my special dishes, you can say hello to me in advance. Just come over when the time comes and I will prepare it for you, Yuxian said with a smile. I'm so sorry, just be like them, Qin Ji said with a smile. That's fine. Anyway, I told you here. If you want to eat, just say hello to me in advance, Yuxian smiled and said, the plates are over there. If you want to eat, you can add whatever you want. And I have it here. Specially made Navy curry. The school will distribute some petroleum supplies every week. In order to train the ship girl as soon as possible, I recommend you to buy one for your ship girl every day, so that the training level will increase faster. Qin Ji nodded, no problem, please trouble Senior Yuxian. It's okay, then you can just cook. If you need anything here, you can always come to me, Yuxian said with a smile. Yes, Qin Ji nodded, and then led his 2 ship girls to the area where the dinner plates were placed. After getting the dining tools, several people prepared the dishes one after another according to their own preferences. Brother Qin looked around and found that there was no one in a corner, so he said to Centaur and Node, let's go over there. Okay, Commander. Centaur and Nashiro nodded and followed Qin Ji in that direction. Not long after the 3 of them sat down, a man came to Qin Ji with his wife. It was Wu Hao who had just informed several people. Hello, excuse me, I am Wu Hao from this Commander's Academy. I should be considered a second-year student this year. This is my ship girl, Gridley Wu Hao said to Qin Ji, who was eating. Qin Ji raised his head, looked at Wu Hao, who had the rank of superior soldier, and said with a smile, "Hello, my name is Qin Ji, and I am a freshman in this Commander's Academy. These two are my ship girls, respectively. Nashiro of Shiji Sakura, and the centaur of the royal family. What's the matter? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 43. Are you really just a freshman? It's impossible, right? The entrance ceremony hasn't started yet, so there shouldn't be any new commanders who have done the first initial construction. But you already have two ship girls, both of which are ultra-rare class ship girls, and the identity tag on your body is your mentor's identity tag, right? Wu Hao said with some disbelief. It seems that you know a lot. Qin Ji smiled and said, but I can only answer you. My situation is a bit special. Before this freshman joined the Commander Academy, I had to wait for more than a week in advance. Came to the academy and became a new commander. But as for the rest, I believe you will know everything by the time of the opening ceremony tomorrow. Wu Hao nodded. Indeed, I will understand everything after the opening ceremony tomorrow. But I was a reporter before I became the commander, so can I ask you one more question? Qin Ji said. Funny, just ask. You are now wearing the instructor's identity card, and the only available seats in the academy are the strategy and tactics class, so you are our new instructor of the strategy and tactics class. In fact, when Wu Hao asked this question, he didn't believe it. After all, no recruit had ever become a mentor. Commanders who can become mentors are all school-level commanders or above. But Qin Ji in front of him said to him very definitely, I am indeed related to the strategy and tactics class, but I am not the instructor of the strategy and tactics class, but the teaching assistant of the strategy and tactics class. What? Wu Hao said in surprise, is it really you? Qin Ji smiled, straightened the badge on his body, and said to Wu Hao, as you can see. Wu Hao's mouth suddenly opened wide when he saw the words Assistant Teacher of Strategy and Tactics written on the badge. However, Gridley behind him quickly picked up the camera and took a photo of Qin Ji. Qin Ji looked at the two of them speechlessly. Seeing Qin Ji's expression, Wu Hao quickly explained, Gridley is used to taking snapshots. I will ask her to delete the photos. Qin Ji was speechless. He also knew some of Gridley's hobbies, so he knew that Wu Hao was telling the truth, so he didn't worry about anything. After all, it was not a big deal. It's okay, I'm just not used to being photographed suddenly. Assistant Qin Ji, I won't disturb your meal, I'll go over first, Wu Hao said to Qin Ji. Qin Ji smiled and nodded, okay, then I'll see you tomorrow. Well, see you tomorrow. After Wu Hao said that, he left where Qin Ji was and walked in the direction he just came from. The centaur on the side said to Qin Ji, Commander, is there any problem with this? Qin Ji waved his hand and said to her, it doesn't matter. After all, there will be a lot of things like this in the future, and my identity is not a secret. When they see it more, they will get used to it. Haha, Commander is really open-minded, the centaur smiled. Qin Ji shrugged, there is nothing we can do about it. Since we have accepted the teaching assistant position from the dean, we must do the teaching assistant things well. Well, Senior Nashiro and I will also work hard to support the commander, the centaur smiled, and Nashiro on the side also nodded to Qin Ji. Haha, I have received your thoughts. But let's finish the meal first. We won't go to training this afternoon and have a good rest. We will have formal classes starting tomorrow. Qin Ji smiled at the two of them. Road. Yes, Commander Centaur and Nashiro nodded and agreed. When a few people started eating, Wu Hao returned to the table where he came from. When a man saw him coming, he quickly pulled him to sit down and asked, "How are you doing? Have you found out?" Wu Hao nodded, "I found out that he is indeed the new commander." "Huh? Is he really a newcomer? How is that possible? Why does he have a ship girl now, and what's with the badge?" one of them said in surprise. Wu Hao replied, "According to what he said, he should have come to the academy more than a week ago, and his current identity is the assistant teacher of the strategy and tactics class. So it is most likely that he summoned the ship girl at that time. But he didn't go into details, he just said that we will know everything when the opening ceremony is held tomorrow. Tisk, this is really a strategy and tactics class." A commander on the side looked at Qin Ji in the distance and said, "But do you think he can teach well?" Instructor Den was a former colonel-level commander. Now there is a new person. Wu Hao shook his head. Whether he can teach well will naturally be considered by the college. Since the dean asked him to be a teaching assistant in the strategy and tactics class, he must have his strengths. But I think that is not what you should worry about now. Tomorrow it's time to start the big construction. Have you prepared the materials and Rubik's Cube? The man's face suddenly fell when he heard these words. "I'm ready, but it's a little bit short. You also know that I borrowed some from the college when I was doing the big thing, so I have to pay it back this time before I can start the big thing establish." "Didn't you say that you can still go to school before graduation? Why are you in such a hurry?" A group of people were a little puzzled by his behavior. "Isn't it because Daijian consumed too many Rubik's Cubes and materials before? Although during the holidays, I did a lot of commissions, so I accumulated some. But I don't want to squander all these resources in one go. I have some awareness of my own luck, so I want to pay back the things I owe to the college before starting any big construction. It would be better if it could be built, but it would be okay if it could not be built. Anyway, there is still one school year to slowly complete the tasks and then accumulate." The man said. "Indeed, and I want to ask you a question. You said that the two ship girls of the new assistant teacher are super rare. So how many times did he build them?" one person asked with a smile. "You don't want to know?" Suddenly, several people's faces turned dark and they said speechlessly, Anyone who builds gold is a European dog. No matter what status he has, it will not change this fact," one person said through gritted teeth. "Yes, and both ship girls are super rare. He is definitely a European dog, not from the same group as us," the other one also said through gritted teeth. Of course, Qin Ji, who was sitting there, didn't know anything about these things. Even if he knew, he wouldn't publicize that he had two ultra-rare ship girls. After all, the more familiar you are, the more you will naturally know some of the rules in the commander's circle. And he couldn't guarantee whether ultra-rare ship girls would appear in the next construction, so it was better to keep it as quiet as possible. He still knows the principle of shooting the first bird. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 44. After eating, go back to your room. Since there was no training in the afternoon, Centaur and Nashiro chose to rest. As for Qin Ji, he used the last period of time to enrich his knowledge reserve. Qin Ji was always very serious when he was studying. Even when the Centaur came to his room to bring him water on the way, he almost didn't hear the door open. "Commander, you've worked really hard putting the water on the table," the Centaur said to Qin Ji with a smile. Qin Ji shook his head. "Actually, this is just a sharpening of skills before battle, but it has some effects." "What are you two doing?" "Noshiro-senpai is practicing sword skills on the grass behind the house." "I'm fine," the Centaur said with a smile. "Okay, I also told you to take a rest, but I didn't expect Nashiro to go to training again." Qin Ji shook his head slightly and said. The Centaur smiled slightly and sat on the bed next to him. Actually, for us, as long as there is no war, our usual training is also a break. Although I say so, you are all girls. Just work hard when it's time to train. It's better to do what you like at ordinary times, Chin-ji said with a smile. Actually, I feel like this is pretty good. I train with Senior Node every day and study with the commander. This is how I live a fulfilling life, Centaur said. Does the Centaur like anything? Chin-ji asked with a smile. What do you like? Commander, are you talking about my hobbies? The Centaur was confused for a moment, then remembered something and said with a smile. Well, for example, Mikasa-senpai likes to collect models, Aurora-senpai likes to drink vodka, and so on. Chin-ji nodded. I don't have any of these. My biggest hobby is to learn from my predecessors, and then I just like the seaside, the Centaur said with a smile. The seaside, Chin-ji nodded. Although ship Niang can now walk on land, she has always had a spiritual dependence on the seaside. Maybe it's like this. But having said that, does the commander have any hobbies? The Centaur asked. Me, Chin-ji thought for a moment. I can't say specifically. I usually spend most of my time studying, and rarely take time to do what I want to do. If reading also counts, then just read. The commander's life is really simple, the Centaur said. No way, I'm used to it, Chin-ji smiled. I think commander can have more of his own interests and hobbies when he has nothing to do. This will not only cultivate his sentiments, but also have common topics with some of the ship girls who will join our fleet in the future, Centaur said. Chin-ji nodded. That's what the Centaur said. You should really cultivate your own interests and hobbies. However, I don't know which aspect should be better. In addition to studying, what does commander do most in his spare time? The Centaur asked. Probably listening to music, Chin-ji replied. Yeah, actually music is pretty good, Centaur smiled and nodded. In my memory, many seniors like music. Chin-ji nodded. Indeed, as Centaur said, many ship girls like music. For example, Iron Blood is famous for its symphonic civilization, Royal is famous for opera, Iris is famous for romance, etc. Then, let's include learning a musical instrument in our study plan. When the Centaur heard Chin-ji's voice, he couldn't help but smile and said, What kind of musical instrument are you planning to learn, Commander? Let's play guitar, Chin-ji said. I've heard people play it before, so I know a little bit about it, and the tone of the guitar is not so noisy and eye-catching, it is relatively calm and comfortable. Well, then I'm looking forward to listening to the music played by the commander on the guitar in the future, the Centaur smiled. Chin-ji and Centaur talked a lot this afternoon. It may be that they have become more familiar with each other recently, so they are more able to chat together. Ah, I have been chatting with the commander for so long without knowing it. Has it delayed your study? It was not until a long time later that the Centaur suddenly realized that he had come in to deliver water, but he had unknowingly been sitting with Chin-ji. Chatted together for a long time. Just as she said to Node at that time, she now feels dependent on Chin-ji and wants to stay by his side. Just chatting like this, talking makes me very happy. Chin-ji smiled and waved his hand. Actually, I plan to give myself a half-day holiday just like I did to you. But as I said to you, I don't have any extra interests, so I can only take out what I have seen before. I continued to read some of the books and materials I had passed. On the one hand, I was consolidating my knowledge, and on the other hand, I was passing the time. You just happened to come over, and it was actually quite good to chat. So that's it? Commander, next time you give yourself a day off, you can notify me. Then I'll come over and accompany the commander, whether it's chatting or listening to you playing music, it's finally there is someone to talk to, the Centaur said with a smile. Isn't this too unfair to you? Chin-ji said with some embarrassment. After all, the Centaur is not only a ship girl, but also a beautiful girl. Saying such words to him that are almost a confession still makes him. There are some feelings that I have never experienced before. No grievance. I actually quite like being with the commander like this. And I don't have a special goal. It would be better to consider the goal of being able to accompany the commander in the future as my hobby. The centaur smiled. Said. In that case, you can come to my place when you have nothing to do in the future. I will buy a guitar then and I will listen to it while I learn from you. How about it? Shinji asked with a smile. Of course you can, that's not to say that, it's just great, the centaur said with a smile, and his joy was palpable. At this time, Nashiro also knocked on the door and came in. Looking at the happy two people, he wondered, what are you so happy about? We're just talking about hobbies. Shinji smiled and said to Nashiro, Nashiro, come in and sit down. Let me talk about you by the way. Node walked through the door and sat next to the centaur. I would like to practice swordsmanship, or find a quiet place to stay alone when I have nothing to do. It's better than this. I plan to buy a guitar later. When I am learning music, can you come over to find my audience like the centaur? I think this kind of rest time is quite good. What do you think? Shinji said to Node with a smile. As your audience, Node smoothed his hair and nodded to Shinji, of course. Then we've settled. Shinji smiled. My ship girl, my world. Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 45. September 1st may not be a special day for many people, but for these new commanders at the Azalane Commander Academy, it is the day when school starts and the day they officially become newcomers. Today, Shinji was as usual. He got up early. After doing morning exercises, he went back to his house to wash up and change into his navy uniform. Dresses are generally worn when attending more formal gatherings or events, so for this opening ceremony, Shinji, as a teaching assistant, must wear such clothes. After bidding farewell to Centaur and Nashiro, when Shinji walked to the door, he found Mikasa, who was also dressed in a ship uniform, walking out of his home. He was dressed in the uniform of a Navy admiral, with a white cape draped across his body. A long string of rosary beads was wrapped around the cape. On his right arm, a Z flag stood out. As if sensing Shinji's gaze, Mikasa turned around and waved to Shinji. Shinji, good morning. Senior Mikasa, good morning. Shinji said with a smile and waved. Just in time, let's go to the front of the auditorium together, Mikasa said to Shinji. Yet Shinji nodded. The road to the auditorium was not too far, and the two of them arrived at the scene in almost 10 minutes. The venue for the opening ceremony was in front of the auditorium. A platform was built under the big stone monument. There were rows of tables and chairs on both sides of the platform, and a podium in the middle. Under the stage, there are two phalanxes of chairs arranged in divided areas. Obviously, there are more on one side and less on the other. The one with more is this year's new commander, and the one with less is this year's second grader. However, this time has not yet reached the time for the opening ceremony to start, but these seats are already full of people, and they are all looking forward to the moment when the opening ceremony begins. When Mikasa and Shinji walked onto the stage together, Shinji clearly heard a loud noise below, and countless eyes were fixed on him. They must be discussing his identity, Shinji thought like this, and then smiled. Here Mikasa, who was sitting in front, pointed to the table on one side. Shinji turned around and saw a sign with his name on the table, and next to him was Mikasa. The two of them walked forward and sat down. Mikasa turned her head and said to Shinji with a smile, it seems that the dean is quite understanding. I am afraid that you will be nervous, so he specially arranged for me to sit next to you. Well, today's scene is indeed a bit tense, but that's it. Shinji smiled and shook his head. As a former top student at the Naval Command College, I have spoken in large lecture halls or delivered speeches many times. Compared to the sharp gazes of students at the same time, the gazes of these first-year and second-year students were already very soft. Haha, that's good. Being able to face things calmly will give you the air of a general, Mikasa said with a smile. Shinji smiled, pointed to the row of seats opposite him and said to Mikasa, "Senior Mikasa, whose seats are in the row opposite? Tell me about the ones opposite." "Those are the seats for the representatives of the Naval Command, the Maritime Safety Administration and the local Chamber of Commerce. After all, although this is the opening ceremony of our Azalane Commander Academy, it is also related to the inheritance of the future Navy, so like them representatives from these naval units and local chambers of commerce are coming to watch the ceremony," Mikasa explained. "Our row is the instructor team of the college, and the row behind is the support team. As for who they are, there is no need to introduce them to you. After all, you already know them." Shinji nodded and asked Mikasa, "I learned about the Maritime Safety Bureau representative from the book. Basically, the director of the Maritime Safety Bureau comes here every time. What level is the representative of the Naval Command who comes to watch the ceremony?" Mikasa explained, "Because the General Administration of Maritime Safety Administration is in our Shenhua city, every time there is a meeting, the director of the Maritime Safety Administration comes in person, and this time the director of the Maritime Safety Administration is Soryu. As for the representative of the Naval Command, it's hard to say. Last year, the person who came was Staff Shentong of the Ship Girl Department, and the one who came before us was Washington from the Frontline Command. So the director didn't notify us specifically who will come this year." Shinji understood for a moment, and when he was about to say something, he saw a figure appearing next to Mikasa. It was Aurora. She was not wearing a white dress as usual, but was wearing her own cotton-padded uniform. "Oh, when I passed by your house, Mikasa, I knocked on the door and found no one answered. I knew you two must have arrived early," Aurora said to Mikasa, then turned her head and smiled at Shinji. "How is it? Are you still used to the feeling of sitting on the stage?" Shinji smiled and said, "Thank you, Senior Aurora, for your concern. I feel pretty good about myself and have not been affected." "Haha, that's good," Aurora smiled. "Good morning, you're really early at this time." Another person came over and sat in his seat. It was Langley, the instructor of the aircraft carrier course. "I told you, you can always trust Mikasa's sense of time." As she spoke, the female general sat in her seat and smiled at Langley. "But compared to this, I am very curious about Commander Shinji. Although he is next door to Mikasa, you can see him doing morning exercises every morning." The attacker sat down and turned to face Shinji. Laughed, but this action made her chest sway, and Shinji's eyelids twitched. "That's the normal routine of a soldier, Shinji. I'm very optimistic about your performance in my course." The red-haired Maryland sat down carelessly and smiled at Shinji. Maryland is right. Every morning when I see Shinji practicing there early in the morning, I suddenly find that the constraints on myself seem to be lighter. "Let's go together then," Mikasa smiled. "If Mikasa-senpai is interested, we can come together then," Shinji said with a smile. "It's a pity that the place where I live is a little far from yours, otherwise I would like to join you at this time." A familiar voice sounded from behind Shinji. He turned his head and looked over, and found that the speaker was Anshin. Moreover, other people such as the kitchen goddess, Yuxian, Miaogao, Pinghai, Ningai, Fushun, and others also came to the stage and sat down. "It's indeed a bit far," Shinji said with a smile. When Shinji just spoke a few words to the people in Anshin, Mikasa interrupted their conversation. "I didn't expect that the Naval Command would send her this year. It seems that the leaders at the top are not interested in this. I'm also very concerned about the siren tide that occurs in the Sub-Northern Alliance." Hearing Mikasa's voice, Shinji quickly turned to look at the opposite table, and found that under the leadership of the Dean, the Prince of Wales, 3 people walked onto the stage. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 46. The person walking at the front had long white hair, a navy hat on her head, and a black navy cape. A bald eagle squatted on her shoulder. Looking at this familiar yet unfamiliar figure, Qin Ji's mind quickly reflected the name of this ship girl, Enterprise. Her name is a monument to World War II. Her legend is not only because of her achievements, but also because of the spirit she represents. The USS Enterprise is the second Yorktown-class aircraft carrier of the U.S. Navy and the seventh U.S. warship named after an Enterprise. It once held back the Japanese combined fleet for a year without other supporting aircraft carriers on the Pacific battlefield. It is the most famous and legendary warship in the history of the United States and even the world's Navy. In his lifetime, he shot down 911 enemy aircraft, sank 71 ships, damaged more than 192 ships, and won 20 Battle Star medals. He has the reputation of one ship against one country, and is the real Queen of the Pacific. It seems that the Donghuang Navy Department is really paying attention to it this time. It even sent the Frontline Command General Command Enterprise to the Commander Academy. It seems that the higher UPS have also sensed a bigger crisis. Aurora interrupted. Qin Ji's thinking made him re-examine the company opposite. Indeed, when you left the Northern Alliance, it was almost half a month ago. The Soviet Union must have noticed something and sent a message to the Donghuang Navy Department through communications. Presumably, not only the Donghuang Navy Department now, but also the Admiralty departments of other camps must also be nervous, Mikasa said at the side. Probably, Aurora nodded. Qin Ji, who was sitting aside, could hear the hint of coming rain from their words. It seemed that this time it was more than just the opening ceremony. After the three people sat on their seats, the Prince of Wales walked directly to the podium and spoke to all the commanders in the audience. I am the Dean of the Azalane Commander Academy, the Prince of Wales. I believe you have all heard of my name before. On behalf of all my colleagues at the Azalane Commander Academy, I would like to express my utmost respect for your arrival here. When many human beings were running for survival, you stood up without hesitation, came to this Commander Academy for ideals, for humanity, for peace, and for freedom, and became a brave and fearless new commander. Warm applause began to ring out from below, and these words continued to impact the hearts of the new students. Any bold statement ultimately hopes to be recognized by others, and the words of the Prince of Wales, the current Dean of Azalane Commander Academy, are the best recognition for them. The Prince of Wales raised his right hand and pressed it down gently, and the applause gradually stopped. She spoke again, now that you are sitting here, it means that you are one step closer to realizing your ideals. Through 2 years of study and experience at the Azalane Commander Academy, I hope that you can serve in the Guards Corps in the future. Humanity, guarding the ocean, contributes its own strength in this great journey. Let us now proceed with the traditional first order of business in our Commander's Academy, and ask you all to stand. As the Prince of Wales finished speaking, the first graders to react were the second graders, but the first graders were not bad at all either, and they all followed the rhythm and stood up. On the podium, Qin Ji also stood up with Mikasa and the others. Take off your hats, face our martyrs' monument, and observe 3 minutes of silence. The new commanders who understood the words of the Prince of Wales quickly took off their military caps and lowered their heads in front of the black stone tablet. At this moment, in front of the auditorium of the Commander Academy, everyone was observing a silent silence, making the scene audible. The sound of the wind was blowing, as if it was also paying silent tribute to the commanders who passed away on the stone monument. 3 minutes is neither long nor short. After waiting, the Prince of Wales raised his head and said to everyone, after the ceremony, put on your hat and sit down. The sound of everyone wearing hats and sitting down sounded at this moment, and everyone began to look directly at the Prince of Wales again. The Prince of Wales said, "These commanders whose names are engraved on the martyrs' monuments all worked for the greatest cause of mankind, and lost their lives for peace and protection. They are the loveliest people, and they are also the most respectable people. However, I sincerely hope that you will not become one of them. I hope that you can master the various knowledge that your future instructors will teach you. I hope that you can be cautious and calm in future tasks and speak with caution. Proceed with caution. I hope you can survive the war in the future. Because only when you are alive can you fight, because only when you are alive can you realize your ideals, because only when you are alive can you command your fleet to defeat the Sirens." So did you hear clearly? Learn, fight, and survive. Listen clearly. A deafening sound echoed through the sky at this moment, and the Prince of Wales mentioned the new affairs below in just a few words. Seeing this situation, the Prince of Wales nodded happily. He said to everyone, "Very good, you are the best group of commanders. Next, let me introduce to you the distinguished guests attending your opening ceremony today." Following the voice of the Prince of Wales, many students below began to pay attention to the person whom the Prince of Wales introduced next. On the stage, the Prince of Wales turned around and introduced to the company and others, "The first person I want to introduce to you is Mr. Lee Si-Yuan, the President of the Shenhua Chamber of Commerce. His Chamber of Commerce is the largest in our Azalane Commander Academy. As a partner, all second-year students' missions are issued by their Chamber of Commerce, so you should thank him for the missions you can receive in the future." Following the voice of the Prince of Wales, a middle-aged man stood up and waved to the commanders below. At the same time, thunderous applause sounded from the ground. The second person is Kang Long, the Chief Director of our Maritime Safety Bureau, the Director of the Shenhua Municipal Maritime Safety Bureau. After you graduate from the Commander's Academy, the Maritime Safety Bureau where Director Kang Long works will be your largest trading and entrustment center, as well as data collection center, the Prince of Wales introduced, pointing to the Kang Long. Kang Long stood up, adjusted his glasses, nodded to everyone, and then sat down amid thunderous applause. The Prince of Wales smiled slightly at Kang Long, and then pointed her finger at the third person. "I believe you may know less about this one. She has been active on the forefront of the battle against the Sirens, leading the Freedom Ship with many commanders. Mom fights against the Siren. She is the frontline commander of the Donghuang Navy Department. My ship girl, my world." Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 47. As Enterprise, who was wearing a black navy cape, stood up, the students below burst into a burst of warm applause. The applause was so loud that it already overshadowed the applause for the two people in front of him. People always worship heroes, and especially those who are groping forward in the face of difficulties. They always have to find a benchmark for themselves, and the company can say without exaggeration that she is that benchmark. She nodded to the people below, exuding calmness and confidence, but when she sat down, her eyes glanced at Qin Ji, who was the most conspicuous person on the podium. Qin Ji was looking at the Enterprise at this time. Their eyes met in the air, and they couldn't help but nodded to each other, and then the Enterprise sat down. "I can see that you are very excited. I know that you all want to go to the front line and fight in the most dangerous places, but only the elite are needed there, the elite of the elite. The people who go there are at least elites with school-level military ranks or above. And the company is the one who leads the commanders and ship girls over there together with the front-line generals." The Prince of Wales paused when she said this. She looked at all the commanders with a serious face. "So you have to become the elite among the elite before you can fight alongside her. Do you have confidence?" "Have." For a moment, a deafening sound rang through the sky. This was a bloody promise and the oath of a group of dream chasers. "Very good. Your fighting spirit tells me. I believe that some of you will go to the front line and fight side by side with the company. The Prince of Wales nodded and smiled. Now, all new commanders, stand up. Follow me and take the oath together to the flying Azalain flag and the flag of Dong Huang, the Prince of Wales said to everyone. Everyone stood up at the same time and turned to face the Azalain flag and the Dong Huang flag fluttering aside. Of course, including Qin Ji on the stage. I swear that I volunteer to join Azalain and become a commander. I am determined to maintain and defend the peace of the ocean from being invaded by the Sirens. I must be loyal and conscientious and do my best to defend what we have always cherished. Freedom and glory, together with my ship girl, protect my world, may the courage and strength be with me. Shouting these words passionately, Qin Ji felt a little dazed for a moment. He still remembered that it was at this time that year that he, who had just entered the Naval Command Academy, and his comrades, boldly shouted out those oaths to the national flag. Oath. And this moment is so similar to that time, with the same passion and ambition, the same passion. Although this is not his world, at this moment, Qin Ji feels that he has a slight connection with this world. After the oath was taken, everyone sat down, and the Prince of Wales said to everyone, "Congratulations on becoming a real commander, and at the same time, you have truly become a first-year student at the Azalain Commander Academy. Now an honorable private. Now, it's time to meet your future mentors at school." In the expectant eyes of all the freshmen, the Prince of Wales turned to the tutor's seat and said to all the students, "These are your tutors, responsible for teaching you various subjects. They are Mikasa, the tutor of the battle course, and Langley, the tutor of the aircraft carrier course, the instructor of the deportation course, the female general, the instructor of the cruise course, Aurora, the instructor of the submarine course and the battlefield self-rescue hygiene course, the assaulter, the instructor of the combat physical fitness course, Maryland, the instructor of the discipline course, Miaogao, and this year, the strategic and tactical course instructor who is also a freshman like you. Assistant Coach Qin Ji. As well as many senior ship girls and humans who have served you in your study career and life." As the Prince of Wales called the roll call, Mikasa and others stood up one by one and welcomed the applause of everyone. However, when it was Qin Ji's turn, everyone was stunned for a moment before applauding. At this time, in the VIP seats opposite the instructor's seat, the eyes of Enterprise and Kang Long couldn't help but look at Qin Ji. Originally, the company was very interested in Qin Ji sitting on the instructor's seat, but no matter how she thought about it, she never expected that Qin Ji would be a teaching assistant in the strategy and tactics course. Now that I heard the Prince of Wales say it, I was filled with surprise. After all, she was on the front line, but she knew very well the importance of strategic and tactical decisions in a battle. Although she had all kinds of questions in her mind, she still did not interrupt the Prince of Wales's speech. After all, she had just arrived at Azalain Commander Academy today. Compared to the Prince of Wales, who had been here longer, she didn't know much. Without understanding, there is no right to speak, so the company decided to wait until after the meeting to find out more about Qin Ji's situation from the Prince of Wales. Next, the tutor representatives gave speeches, and after the student representatives spoke, the opening ceremony finally came to an end with the speech of the Prince of Wales. After the opening ceremony, all first-year new commanders will stay. After that, Ningai and Hepinghai will take you to the construction room for initial ship construction. Rubik's cubes and materials will also be distributed to you there. After the construction is completed, bring your own ship girls, get settled, formal classes will begin tomorrow. Finally, I wish you success in your construction. The meeting is dismissed, the Prince of Wales said to the commander below. Oh! With the sound of roaring mountains and tsunami, the opening ceremony officially ended. After that, Qin Ji stood up and followed Mikasa towards the faculty and staff area. On the other side, After bidding farewell to Chamber of Commerce President Lee Si-yuan, the Prince of Wales brought Kang Long and the company to her office. As soon as they entered the office, the Prince of Wales made tea for the two of them and asked with a smile, "If you have anything to say, just tell me directly." You two were hesitant along the way. This is not like your two characters. Enterprise and Sario looked at each other, and Enterprise said, "Welsh, although you are no longer on the front line, I believe that as the principal of Azalane Commander Academy, you will better understand the importance of strategy and tactics in a battle. And I believe you have your own reasons for appointing Commander Chin Ge as the assistant teacher of the strategy and tactics class, but I still want to hear your explanation on what kind of talent he has that made you make this appointment." The Prince of Wales smiled and put the black tea in front of the two of them and said to them, "Let me ask you something. In a battle, what do you think is the most important thing for both the enemy and us?" Enterprise and Kang Long looked at each other. "Intelligence, what does this have to do with Commander Chin Ge?" The Prince of Wales smiled and said, "How far have we gone before we realize the importance of intelligence?" This. Kang Long was speechless for a moment. The company's eyes flickered. "We didn't know until we had our first large-scale Legion battle with the Sirens." "That's right," the Prince of Wales smiled. "When I asked Chin Ge this question, he blurted it out without any hesitation. My ship girl, my world." Author, Hwangming Ge. Chapter 48. The Prince of Wales's answer made Enterprise and Kang Long a little confused. Enterprise said, "But you can't let him become the assistant instructor of the strategy and tactics class just based on this, right? After all, although there are relatively few people who can clearly know this, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. Maybe he said it after learning about it from others." The Prince of Wales laughed, "But he has never had any knowledge about ship girls before." "How is that possible?" Kang Long said. The Prince of Wales turned around and walked to the desk, took out a letter and handed it to Kang Long. "This is a recommendation letter written to me by a commander who graduated from the Commander Academy. Take a look." Kang Long took the letter suspiciously and read it aloud. "Dear Dean, I am Commander Su Xin who graduated from the 78th class of Azalane Commander Academy. It was my ship girl Tang Si who accidentally blew up your garden. Due to the need to rush to the Maritime Safety Bureau to report after the graduation ceremony, I did not apologize to you in person. Here I deeply apologize to you. Wales, your students are so interesting." Hearing this, Kang Long laughed, and Enterprise sitting beside him couldn't help laughing. The Prince of Wales raised his eyebrows and said to Kang Long, "Down below." Okay, I'll take a look right away." Kang Long smiled and continued, "Because I am now in the Orchid Fleet and am just an ordinary member, so the funds I receive from the tasks I receive every day are relatively small, but I will actively save money and compensate for your losses as soon as possible. The reason I am writing to you this time is to recommend the person who holds the letter. His name is Chin Ge. He was a person I rescued in the most dangerous area when I was patrolling the Yalin Brigade defense area. At that time, a Siren mass-produced destroyer fired a shot at him, but he dodged it. Then my ship Girl Downs rushed over, sank the mass-produced destroyer, and rescued him. When I asked him about his origins, he was very hesitant and changed the topic several times without telling where he was from. But you also know that the dangerous areas in every city defense zone are very difficult for ordinary people to reach without the protection of the ship girl, but this Chin Ge even has a vague understanding of the ship girl. But he has a strong sense of self-discipline and habitual movements. Whether he is standing, sitting or walking, he is a fully trained soldier. And although the trousers he was wearing were dirty with mud, it could still be clearly seen that they were navy dress trousers. So I thought his appearance was very strange, and after rescuing him in the cabin, and on the way back to land, I noticed a phenomenon that caught my attention, that is, he could actually read on the Commander in Arms, a comprehensive collection of strategies and tactics. Decisive role in naval battles. You know, Without systematic study, it is difficult to understand the tactical vocabulary and some military terms mentioned in that book. But within more than an hour after my girlfriend discovered it, and when I went out to ask him, he had already read more than half of it. So I wrote this letter for you, asking you to inquire about his background in detail. If there are no problems, he will be a very good commander. If there are problems, let you decide for yourself. Yalan Fleet Su Xin, July 3, 123rd year of the Blue calendar. Kang Long finally finished reading the letter, then she raised her head in surprise and glanced at the Prince of Wales next to her. Kang Long, what will you do if you see this letter? The Prince of Wales asked. So you directly asked about his strategic and tactical foundation. Kang Long did not answer the Prince of Wales's words, but asked his own question. The Prince of Wales nodded. I asked him 2 questions, and he answered them very quickly and completely. The first one is the question I just asked you, and the second one I asked is about all the existing ships. Among them, what does he think is the most important? Enterprise raised his head with interest and said to the Prince of Wales, then what did he answer? The Prince of Wales curled his lips and said, aircraft carrier. It seems that Commander Chin Ge has good vision, Enterprise said with a smile. But do you think that if you don't have a certain degree of research on military theory and strategy and tactics, you can answer this question accurately? The Prince of Wales smiled. I think many people will answer battleship, right? Kang Long adjusted his glasses and said with a smile. Yes, there will only be a few people who master the truth, so he is that minority, the Prince of Wales said, and in the subsequent mental Rubik's Cube adaptation rate test, when he touched the mental Rubik's Cube, colorful colors appeared. Reaction. Legend of the Sea, a smile appeared on the corner of Enterprise's mouth. It's been a long time since I've seen anything like this. How many years has it been? To be precise, 57 years ago, Marshal Zhu Junwei, the former naval marshal of Donghuan Command, has never seen a commander who can detect colors since his death, Kang Long said. But the problem is that Marshal Zhu Junwei has never created a maritime legend, the company said. The important thing is not that he can create a maritime legend, but that he became a marshal in the end, the Prince of Wales said. If Commander Chin Ge really becomes the Marshal of the Navy, his role will be greater than that of a legendary ship girl at sea, Kang Long said. However, if you want to become a naval marshal, you must be jointly recommended by more than 7 admiral-level commanders at the same time, and you must be recognized by the headquarters, the Maritime Safety Administration, the Commander Academy, and the frontline headquarters. Enterprise smiled. This is still a matter for the future. The most important thing now is to observe his performance in the academy. If his strategic and tactical courses are really very good, then I really want to consider keeping him in the Azalain Commander Academy. The Prince of Wales smiled. This is not okay, you should know. Wales Enterprise's eyes flickered. The place that is truly suitable for a commander to grow up is always the battlefield. If he is really talented and loyal to Azalain, then the place that is most suitable for him to grow up is the places where I am. Enterprise, your demands are a bit high, the Prince of Wales said helplessly. Forget it, let's not talk about it for now. Why are you back this time? Is there another problem on the front line? Yes, since the siren tide of the Northern Alliance, the sirens on the front line have been much quieter, but we think this is a sign before the storm comes, so I am ready to come back for support, Enterprise said with a sigh. So you are going to the headquarters? Asked the Prince of Wales. Yes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 49. I thought the Soviet Union discovered the cause of this siren tide, said the Prince of Wales. I also called the Soviet Union to consult, but the Soviet Union's reply only contained a few words, the company said solemnly. What word? Kang Long asked hurriedly. Everything is normal, the company said. Everything is normal, the Prince of Wales and Kang Long looked at each other and frowned. Yes, although I believe that the Soviet Union will not target people without reason, she must have concealed something, and she couldn't tell it in the telegram, so she only replied with these 4 words. And these 4 words mean that I will come back to Shenhua City. Reasons, the company said. It seems that the siren tide that occurred in the Northern Union is not just as simple as we imagined, but it should have a deeper meaning, Kang Long said while holding his hand on his glasses. The Prince of Wales nodded. Enterprise, did you send someone to the Northern Alliance to ask about the specific situation? If it is really inconvenient to tell us on the telegram, then the envoy sent must be able to tell us the details. Situation. The company nodded. It has been dispatched, but it will take some time to go back and forth, so I will come back first to ask for support, and then attend the opening ceremony of the Azalane Commander Academy. The Prince of Wales and Sario nodded, and Sario said, so, what do you think prompted the Soviet Union to send the words everything is normal after experiencing such a war? Perhaps there are some secrets here, even secrets that other camps have not discovered. Let me just say that this siren tide is a bit strange. Why is it only the Northern Alliance? It does not even affect the iron-blooded camp closest to the Northern Alliance, the Prince of Wales said with some concern. Not only that, when I asked Royal and Free Iris before, they also said that they only obtained the information after the battle, Enterprise said solemnly. This is indeed a problem, the Prince of Wales frowned and looked at Kang Long. Then what do you think the Northern Alliance is hiding? What kind of things did the Northern Alliance obtain that made the Northern Alliance accept this wave of siren tides alone? Kang Long shook his head slightly. I don't know. The Northern Alliance is a very powerful camp with the same technology as Iron Blood. Their research on siren technology has been at the forefront of all camps. We really can't make assumptions now. We can only wait until the investigation. It worked out. Indeed, but these matters are left to the leadership above to deal with. In addition, I think other camps are also in a dire situation now, right? The Prince of Wales laughed. Yeah, Kang Long nodded. High probability. The company said, so, everything has to wait until the envoy comes back, but before that, the front-line defense formation must be consolidated. The conversation of several people in the dean's office was not heard by the 4th person. At this time, the new commander who had just arrived at the school was heading to the construction room to carry out major construction under the leadership of Ningai Heping Hai. The second-year students returned to their houses or went to see if there were any European dogs among the newcomers. As for Qin Ji, he returned to the faculty area with Mikasa and others, but these people did not go home, but gathered together at Mikasa's place. It seems that the future situation is still very serious. Even the front-line commander company has returned, Mikasa said while looking at the people sitting at the table. Yes, it stands to reason that every time there is an opening ceremony, a deputy commander from the front line is enough, just like last year in Washington. But this year when companies come back in person, the situation is obviously different, April said. I said before that the siren tide that happened in the Northern Union was really weird. Not only was it 2 or 3 months earlier, but it was also more terrifying than before, right? Maryland looked at Aurora and said, after all, Aurora had been there before. She is in the Northern Union, so she knows the situation there very well. Yes, compared to the normal siren tides, the siren mass production fleet that came that time was denser. At that time, because the war was more urgent, I didn't pay much attention to it. Now that I think about it, it is indeed a bit strange, Avro said. Do you think that if a siren tide occurs along the coast of Donghuang in the future, will there be anomalies like those in the Northern Alliance? Langley said. Everyone stopped talking and looked at each other, and saw a look of determination in everyone's eyes. Qin Ji shook his head. I don't think so. Oh, why? Mikasa looked at Qin Ji. the only one among the people who disagreed with this idea, and the others also looked over. Seeing everyone's eyes fixed on him, Shinji didn't feel timid at all, but said to Mikasa, "Senior Mikasa, do you have a sea map here? What I need is that kind of world map." Yes. After Mikasa replied, she immediately stood up, walked to her room, took out a roll of maps, and spread it on the table. Shinji looked at the map and pointed at the Northern Union area, because I have also studied the Siren Tide recently, and this time I heard Senior Aurora talk about the location of the Siren Tide. I found an interesting matter. "Oh, what's interesting?" April asked. Previous Siren Tides were launched in various regions at the same time, including the coastal areas of the northern United States, that is, the Sirens in the Arctic Ocean, as well as the Sirens on both sides of the Atlantic, the Sirens on both sides of the Pacific, and the Sirens in the Indian Ocean. "The places are all together," Shinji said. "And in terms of the threat level of Sirens alone, the Pacific Ocean is greater than the Atlantic Ocean, greater than the Arctic Ocean, greater than the Indian Ocean. And every time a Siren Tide occurs in the northern United States, the Royal and Iron Bloods of the Atlantic Ocean and the Free Iris will definitely be involved. Because the northernmost part of the Northern Alliance intersects with several of their camps, so they can help each other in peacetime. But what's strange this time is that when the Siren Tide comes, there is no Siren Tide in the areas close to the three camps." And Senior Aurora also said before that this time the Royal, Iron-Blooded, and Free neither Iris nor even the Sardinian Empire sent troops to help the Northern Alliance. Or I can say here that the Northern Alliance did not ask them for help. Then why did the Northern Alliance have to bear this Siren Tide alone? Is there something we don't know about? When Shinji said this, he stopped moving his fingers on the map, raised his head, and said to everyone, "Can we think that the Northern Alliance got something great from Siren's hand this time? Then this sudden Siren Tide is the revenge of the Sirens, but this thing is too important to the Northern Alliance, so the Northern Alliance does not want the Royal, Iron-Blooded, and Free Iris to interfere in this matter, but chooses to bear it alone? My Ship Girl, My World." Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 50. Tisk, that makes some sense. Maryland nodded to Shinji. "It is indeed possible." Mikasa nodded and said, at the same time she turned to look at Aurora, "What do you think?" "The person who contacted me at that time was Soviet Rosia. I have never met the Soviet Union, but Shinji's words really reminded me," April said with her arms crossed. "When the battle was halfway through, I was also wondering why no Royal and Iron-Blooded people participated in the battle. After all, the place where the Siren Tide occurred was not too far from their front-line defense area. But Soviet Rosia told me that they didn't want to owe them too many favors. As you know, due to some historical reasons, the relationship between Iron Blood and Northern United was not very harmonious. I ignored this situation afterwards." Miao Gao nodded, but as Shinji said, this situation is just one of them, and the true situation needs to continue to be verified. Mikasa turned to Shinji and smiled and said, "Shinji is doing well. At this time, he is still analyzing calmly. He can find unusual things among the same opinions. It is really amazing." Shinji shook his head. "I am just used to thinking about the enemy with the greatest malice when thinking about strategy. Although Northern United is also a member of Azalane, it does not prevent me from using this habit. As we all know, Iron Blood and Northern Alliance are the two camps in Azalane that have the deepest research into Siren technology, so it is not surprising that problems arise between these two camps." "It is indeed," the female general nodded. "However, what we are saying is just speculation based on imagination. The real situation has to be determined by the Donghuang Naval Command. So next, we will wait for the information above and do our part." "Things will be fine," Mikasa said to everyone. Yes, after everyone answered, they stayed and sat for a while, and then returned to their own houses. Of course, this also included Shinji. As soon as he returned to the house, he tried to call his wife's name a few times, but found that the two of them were not there. It seems like we should go to training, Qin Ji said to himself. Then he was about to change out of his dress, but as soon as he walked up the stairs, he heard a knock on the door. Huh, Qin Ji walked to the door with a puzzled expression. When he opened the door, he saw an acquaintance standing outside. And this acquaintance was none other than Taiyuan, one of the 4 King Kongs he had seen before. Taiyuan? Why are you here? Come in quickly, Qin Ji said as he opened the door and let Taiyuan in. Thank you, Commander Qin Ji. I won't go in for the time being. Taiyuan shook his head and said to Qin Ji, originally, Sister Fushun should have come to do this, but she has to go to the academy to patrol now, so I have to coming. What's going on? Qin Ji looked at Taiyuan strangely. Taiyuan raised his hand, and as the blue light flashed, a very delicate black card and a blue card appeared on his hand. Commander Qin Ji, this black card is as Elaine's petroleum card. You can hold this card to spend in the Academy's cafeteria and Akashi grocery store, or exchange it for the same amount at the logistics office of any maritime bureau. Oil is used to replenish the ship for long voyages. Because you have 2 ultra-rare ship girls and are also a teaching assistant at the school, other students have 200 units of oil every week, and you have 700 units of oil stored on this card every week, and this the upper limit for a card is 100,000 units. And this blue card is your subsidy card, which will receive a subsidy regularly every month. Although it is not of much use in the school, it will be a good thing when you are stationed in the city outside in the future. A very considerable income. Qin Ji reached out and took the 2 cards from Taiyuan's hand, nodded and said to Taiyuan, thank you very much, Taiyuan, for bothering you to make such a trip. It doesn't matter. Taiyuan shook his head. Sister Fushun was originally responsible for campus discipline patrols and managing tutors' daily logistics. This is her job. Qin Ji nodded and asked with some confusion, where did the other commanders get the oil cards and allowance cards? After the ship mother is built today, it will be handled by Senior Ninghai, Taiyuan replied. Oh, that's it. Qin Ji smiled and nodded. Then Taiyuan has traveled so far, why don't you come in and take a sip of water? It's okay. I have to go back to the training ground next. Changchun has been staying at home. Sister Anshan still needs help, so there is no need. Taiyuan shook his head and said. Well, thank you very much for sending me these 2 cards, then I won't keep you. Qin Ji nodded and said. Okay. Taiyuan smiled at Qin Ji, then turned around and left. However, before walking out of the fence, he suddenly stopped, turned around, and said to Qin Ji. Commander Qin Ji, Sister Fushun asked me to give you a message. She said that starting from tomorrow, you can come to her with Coke, but it is best to choose the time in the afternoon, because she will patrol the entire campus in the morning. It was about to close the door. Qin Ji was stunned for a moment when he heard Taiyuan's words, and then nodded to her with a smile. Don't worry, I understand. I will go to her with Coke later. Well, goodbye. Taiyuan nodded politely, then turned around and walked towards the training ground. Qin Ji smiled and shook his head, closed the door and walked up to the 2nd floor. When he came to his room, he quickly changed into a naval officer and put the blue allowance card in the desk drawer, while he took the black oil card with him. After cleaning up everything, Qin Ji left the room and walked towards the practice field in the staff area. He planned to observe the training of Centaur and Nashiro, and when the time was almost up, he would go to the cafeteria to eat together. When we arrived at the practice ground, we saw 2 familiar figures on the offshore sea. The Centaur was standing on the sea, controlling the carrier-based aircraft to move and roll according to her instructions. Nashiro, on the other hand, sprinted and slashed on the sea surface, simulating the situation of training against the enemy. Qin Ji did not hide his figure. When he approached, he was discovered by 2 ship girls. The centaur stood on the sea with a smile on his face, waving his hand and saying hello to him. Nashiro also stopped training, smoothed his slightly messy hair, and nodded to Chin-ji who came over. Chin-ji waved to the two ship girls with a smile on his face and continued to approach them. But this scene looks particularly warm on this calm sea.